these dynasty players could be future studs, so there's no way we are selling them off of our roster. Like Michael Wilson's a good example of this because he's a guy that came in, got pretty good draft capital, went to a team that actually needed wide receiver help. Going to a team next year, as it sits right now, outside of Trey McBride, obviously, Michael Wilson's the wide receiver 1 in Arizona.
He's sitting pretty right now.
From a target opportunity standpoint, you're like,
oh,
that doesn't get much better.
No.
Obviously, they're going to take a wide receiver.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Maybe. I have heard they're candidate to move back, which would make sense.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they can move back and get Romo Dunze or something like that. That'd be nice. Maybe the Giants will trade up and get a quarterback. But
we're not stashing Michael Wilson to be the true wide receiver 1 on his team. We're stashing him to be the wide receiver 2 on his team, which provides a lot of value on a roster that has Kyler Murray, who provides a lot of passing volume. He'll throw it upwards of 35 times a game. He will.
Exactly. And Michael Wilson right now, Michael Wilson's not worth anything. So even if you're trying to trade Michael Wilson, you're not getting anything that makes him worth trading because he's the wide receiver 61 on keep trade cut. He's equivalent to Quentin Johnston. Okay, so he's free. That's all you need to know, right? That's all you need to know. So he's somebody that if you have on your taxi squad, we're leaving him on your taxi squad. We're not trading him away. We're keeping him because, again, Michael Wilson, even in his rookie year where he's playing on a bad offense with Trey McBride, with Hollywood Brown, with, whoever the frick, James Conner, honestly, taking a lot of that production. But the wide receiver 60. For somebody of Michael Wilson's caliber, somebody who really couldn't stay healthy at Stanford, somebody who had a lot of question marks coming into the NFL, somebody on a bad team last year, for him to get 60 targets and 560 yards, that's pretty freaking good. I absolutely think there's room for him to improve. 15 yards per catch was like one of the highest rates of any rookie. So obviously, you saw how he was being used. I'm interested to see if they really take that to the next level this year. But Michael Wilson, again, is a guy that right now, you're just holding on your roster. You're not selling him for anything. Again, if anybody's value equivalent to Quentin Johnston, it means they're not worth anything. That means you have to hold Michael Wilson. He's one of the better stashes of like value insulated pieces, in my opinion, in Dynasty Fantasy Football.
Yeah, in stretches too, he was very productive with the volume that he was offered. Obviously, before Kyler Murray came back in those first 8 weeks of the season, he had a game in week 4 against San Francisco, 7 targets, 7 receptions, 76 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was getting some opportunities in the red zone, which was really good to see. And he got some consistent volume there through the first 8 weeks of the season. 4, 3, 2, 7, 2, 4, 5, 6, which for a third-round rookie, not bad at all. And then the last 2 weeks of the season, after I think he was out for a few weeks and there was a bunch of weird stuff going on there, playing with Kyler, he had 6 targets apiece in week 17 and 18, beat Philly that one year. He was a big reason for why. He had 4 receptions that game, 35 yards, and a touchdown. His last game of the season, 6 receptions and 95 yards. So pretty solid, just very under the radar. That's like that. That's production that I could play with for free. Like if I can get him as a throw-in, seriously, why not? These are players you should stash. Why not take a dart throw on Michael Wilson? Demario Douglas is going to be our next guy here. He's another player that, against all odds, honestly, in probably the second worst offensive situation in the NFL next to the Jets.
Yes.
Would you prefer the Patriots offense last year or the Jets? That's a good question. Would you rather?
The Jets.
You'd rather have the Jets situation?
There was a productive player on the Jets. There were 2 productive players on the Jets.
That's okay.
So
fine.
I'll take the Jets.
Fine. Would you rather deal with those QBs though? Or
Yes.
Zappy and Mac Jones?
This was worse.
Okay.
This was definitely worse.
So according to Avery, the worst offensive situation in the
Not
NFL
even
last
close.
year. He again, he was a little inconsistent because he missed a few games here and there. I think 3 games total. I love some of these games that he did though. And talk about consistent targets from week 7 on. 6, 7, 7, 9, 9, 5, 8, 5, and 5. 78 targets on the year, 49 receptions, 561 yards. So that's not a ton of yards with a decent amount of targets for a 5th-round rookie wide receiver. This guy has, in my eyes, a sustainable outlook. Like when you're talking about yards per target and yards per reception, he's a guy that could actually like take multiple steps forward going into his second year as a late round dart throw for the New England Patriots. He didn't get, he didn't score any touchdowns last year, which was very interesting. So I think he had a lot of work between the 20s. So that's something I'd like to see differently, That's something I'd like to see eventually. This is good. Like I like to see this from a guy that, again, for a stash in a situation where maybe they're drafting a quarterback, maybe not. But Jacoby Brissett is twice the quarterback that Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi are last season, and he can actually like provide a lot of volume. We know this firsthand. We saw a year and a half really of Jacoby Brissett play for the Colts, and he helped a lot of receiving assets produce in those offenses. Yeah. And Demario Douglas could absolutely be that guy. I don't realistically see the Patriots really drafting a wide receiver in the first round. I could eat my words for that, but I think Douglas could actually be a sneaky, productive guy. And
even
a
if
guy
he's a wide receiver too, though, like
in the later rounds and fantasy drafts, I'm totally taking shots on Demario Douglas this year.
Yeah, let's talk about Josh Downs. So there was a time early in the offseason where like, yeah, Josh Downs is pretty good as a buy, and then
then you were like, oh, should he be a sell?
And then I said, oh, should we maybe sell because maybe they're going to draft Brian Thomas Jr. or Brock Bowers?
And that's when he started to slowly decline, but we were like, oh, he'll go back up. No, he's just been perpetually declining.
Yeah, so in end of November, he was a wide receiver 28 on Keep Trade Cut. At the end of January, he was wide receiver 31. At the mid-February, he was wide receiver 32. So you're within 4 spots there. He's now the wide receiver 47 on Keep Trade Cut.
Jeez.
So
who's that value equivalent to?
Mid-second. Pollard, Lad McConkey, Ramondre Stevenson, Dallas Goedert.
Yeah. I'd rather have Downs.
I would rather have Downs there too.
Yeah.
So I'll keep flip-flopping then. Because at the time I thought, and that was probably mid-February where I said that, I think.
Probably.
I said, yeah, Josh Downs might be a sell because of what ends up happening in Indy if they draft somebody else. Now he's not a sell. You're not selling Josh Downs at his value crater. Are you serious? Josh Downs, in my opinion, is somebody that you have to keep on your roster purely based on the upside, the skill set, the draft capital, the situation, all of it. What he was able to do his rookie year, we talked about those guys that we mentioned before Josh Downs. Josh Downs finished higher in PPR leagues than those guys. Wide receiver 43 had 98 targets. He had almost 100 targets and 770 yards in his rookie year. That's good, guys.
Very good.
Only 2 touchdowns. And yeah, again, like there was a time where I'm like, yeah, Josh Downs, maybe not. Now I'm like, Josh Downs at wide receiver 50? Absolutely. And so I know I keep changing my tune on this, and I'm sorry, but at the same time, my opinion
it's
does
a value game.
Have the right to be flexible. Dynasty is day trading, and things change every single day. And with Josh Downs, they've changed like 3 or 4 times now. And Josh Downs has flipped back to somebody I'm stashing on my Dynasty team. I'm not really going out and actively... Maybe I would go actively buy him, but I'm more just like I'm holding him hard.
I understand the risk with Josh Downs, and there's a reason that he's fallen, and that is because we've talked about this plenty of times, but Brock Bowers being consistently mocked to the Colts, Brian Thomas being consistently mocked to the Colts. We've exhausted the discussion of mock drafts and how we feel about them, but realistically, the Colts are going corner. They're going corner or they're going D-line. Like that's just my personal opinion in the first round. Maybe they go skill position on the offensive side of the ball day 2, but I think just the way that Chris Ballard runs the organization and has operated as a GM for years at this point, this just seems like a classic Chris Ballard move to stick with the wide receivers that he has after paying $25 million to Michael Pittman when Josh Downs showed out as a 3rd-round rookie wide receiver last year when they had a 1st-round grade on him.
Right.
Sure, there are some guys that could make sense for the Colts to draft in the 1st round that are wide receivers or Brock Bowers, but like I really think at price it's worth the risk investing in Downs when he will inevitably increase in value again if and when the Colts don't draft a receiver 1st round. That's just kind of where we're at right now. And if we're wrong about that, then we're wrong. We're out on investing at a wide receiver 47 price right now.
Yeah. It's, again, it's changed so much with Josh Downs. And if they don't draft a wide receiver, his value is going to go back up. Yeah. So that makes him a good buy alone. Mm-hmm. You've got the best guy on this list, in my opinion.
Zach Moss. Zach Moss is
but Chase Brown
about to be a guy that I'm going to start putting on team blueprints for contending teams to invest in at a cheap price, which if you want one of those team blueprints, by the way, over at flockfantasy.com/domain, you have to use code domain. You get access to our Discord, all of our exclusives, articles, databases, our rookie draft guide version 3 coming out very soon before the NFL draft with a lot of new players that we've included there. But you can submit your roster, any roster of your choice, put it in the team blueprints channel. We'll do a customized team blueprint for you, which is, right here. It's scrolling through right now on the video, so you see what it looks like. And we send that back over to you after we do it, and you ask us follow-up questions. We answer any questions that you have about your roster or other teams, all that jazz. It's really great. It's really worth your time. And we have a huge, huge community now that's growing. Very large.
It's quite large. And also
very large,
kind of
quite
in
large.
charge. So
Yeah. But Zach Moss is a guy who just got a 2-year, $8 million contract with the Cincinnati Bugles.
Bengals.
And that's really good for only a 1-year, $4 million deal. They do have an out after this season. It is kind of a 1-year rental. But at price, I don't care. We just saw Joe Mixon, who is, not a super young running back, be productive last year in a situation that was less than ideal because Joe Burrow was in and out of the lineup and the offense just didn't look as effective as it has in the past. Joe Mixon was still productive. Joe Mixon leaves. Zach Moss in a situation that could have been garbage last year for the Indianapolis Colts when Jonathan Taylor was out with that ankle injury, was a top 6 running back for like the first 6 weeks. He was very, very good. Take it from Colts fans who watched Zach Moss for a 16-game sample size.
More than that.
He is, more than that because this dated back to the year before.
The year before he was doing really well.
Ever since he went to the Colts, he has been very productive in 2 different offensive systems. I'm not worried about him changing a system. I actually love the landing spot to the Cincinnati Bugles, and I think that he's really going to be productive because of this, and I think it's worth the risk of a 1-year rental at his respective price. Marvin Mims, a perpetual, in my opinion, I think at this point Marvin Mims is a 3. Marvin Mims is a field stretcher. Like I'm not willing to bet on anything else other than that at this point in time. If you want him to be a stash, sure, whatever. He got 2nd round draft capital. Like I'd rather have the productive Zach Moss.
Did I win that battle?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Pat Freiermuth. When are we gonna give up on Pat Freiermuth being an elite producing tight end? Luke Musgrave. I don't know if it's Luke Musgrave or Tucker Kraft in Green Bay. Plus, I'd rather bet on the receivers there anyways.
True.
A late second? Come on. Please.
Hey, those late seconds, sometimes.
Like and this isn't even, we're not failing to take into account the fact that the Bengals might draft a running back this year. Maybe they do. Maybe they do next year.
You don't even have to pay a late second. Nobody's paying a late second.
Nobody's paying.
You get them for an early 3rd. Easily, man. Easily.
Cortland Sutton, Dontavion Wicks, Isaiah oh my gosh.
But
my gosh, Isaiah Likely.
But Nathan, are you not threatened?
Would you rather have a player that you're going to be benching for the rest of your life, or Zach Moss, who I kid you not, now that he has a starting opportunity, he 100% has the upside if he stays healthy to be a top 12 producing running back next year.
Hot
And
take.
I am not kidding.
Hot take. I mean, until Jonathan Taylor came back, he was doing that.
Yes, and he didn't slow down. He didn't lose efficiency. It was like he has the build to be able to take on that load for an entire season.
Are you not worried about the steep competition he faces from Chase Brown?
Chase Brown is a 3rd down back who's a really nice receiving option there. I saw him in person. It was actually kind of fun to watch him in person because you saw him in person in college.
Yep.
He's very he's kind of like zippy. He's like a little
woo. He's fun to watch.
He is very fun to watch, but he really he is a role player in an offense that is a good receiving option on 3rd down plays, and he's not much more than that. Like Zach Moss will be getting the opportunities, the load, and he will definitely be getting the red zone carries there.
We're putting a rookie on here just for fun. Roman Wilson.
Yay.
Roman Wilson, my favorite rookie sleeper / stash / rookie /
I did that for you. You're welcome.
Thank you. And I got to talk about him.
Yeah.
Roman Wilson's a guy that probably even, no matter where he goes in his first year, I'm not going to expect a huge first year from Roman Wilson. I do think he could fly into the Raiders. I think he could have a Josh Downs-esque first year. Maybe more towards Michael Wilson. But that's good. And Roman Wilson, I think, is a guy that by his 2nd year in the NFL is going to be quite good in the slot at the NFL level. I could be totally off base on this. I'm going off of my own hunch, and I don't know jack. But at the same time,
your hunches are poopy.
I don't know. I had a hunch about Josh Downs, and he's on this video. I like Roman Wilson a lot, and I think you're going to be drafting him, being tempted to sell him up front, and we're going to stash him on our rosters for sure. Again, lots to play out there, but Roman Wilson's a guy I just like talking about, so we snuck him in this video.
Yeah, Michael Mayer, I think in this day and age, a lot of people, and we are guilty of this, you give up on a tight end because they weren't productive their rookie year, when in reality, remember that like most tight ends, it takes a while for them to be productive anyways. Michael Mayer did show out enough. He showed some very, very minimal flashes in a horrible situation last year, especially if the Raiders go ahead and they draft a quarterback in the 1st or 2nd round this year, one of the top 6 options, which I think is Possible. Maybe a little less likely now that they signed Gardner Minshew to a 2-year deal, because Minshew is he is the default starter, and they paid him bridge starting quarterback money.
Yeah,
so I would expect him to start this year, but like they could absolutely take a shot on a quarterback in the second round. Regardless, Minshew alone has enough volume to support multiple receiving assets in that offense. We just saw it with the Colts last year with Downs, Pittman. Every single random possible tight end you could ever think of. They actually brought in a lot of volume, and the running backs there, receiving usage there as well. But with Michael Mayer, he's just one of those tight ends that had good draft capital last year, second round draft capital. He is the future at the tight end position for the Raiders. And I think there is a chance that he could have a second year breakout at his price, right? He's kind of one of those guys where it's like Pat Freiermuth had decent production his rookie year, and he just skyrocketed upwards. Michael Mayer didn't. His expectations were super high, so he just fell. I think it's just as likely that Michael Mayer has a breakout year as most other tight ends that have never broken out will have a good chance to have a breakout year. But again, it's at his price, at his age, all this stuff. Like, I'll take him here where he's going.
Roschon Johnson's going to be last in this list. And there's really one simple reason that Roschon Johnson's a good stash in Dynasty Leagues is because in order for Roschon Johnson to not be on the field or getting opportunities this year, you're betting that DeAndre Swift is going to stay healthy for an entire season.
And you're betting that DeAndre Swift is going to be a bell cow running back, which he has never played that role in any offense he's ever been in since he came into the league.
And you're betting that DeAndre Swift is going to go away from the Eagles, who had one of the best offensive lines in the league last year, to the Bears and produce the exact same and not allow for any running back to come in and take a chunk of his workload. All three of those bets.
I'm hoping that Roschon Johnson is DeAndre Swift's Jamal Williams. I want him to be the boogeyman, man. I want him to take those red zone opportunities.
Because I own more Roschon than I do Swifty now.
Yeah, and people are going to continue to say, which, oh my gosh, talk about irrational dynasty.
Talk to me about it.
The Khalil Herbert truthers are somehow still out there, and it's like unbelievable. They're like, oh, well, Khalil Herbert is going to be.
Khalil Herbert,
he's still there.
The old Bears running back?
Yes. Khalil Herbert, guys.
Oh my gosh, he does have value.
He does have value, which is really funny.
Oh my gosh. Hey, if you have Khalil Herbert on your roster, I mean, then there's the tip of the day right there. Go sell him for anything you can get.
DeAndre Swift went there because he is what everyone hoped Khalil Herbert to be, and Khalil Herbert is not.
They have now drafted and signed a running back over Khalil Herbert.
Yeah,
and you're still holding on to him like having value?
Let me tell you this. DeAndre Swift is not taking away from Roschon Johnson like he is Khalil Herbert. He is pushing Khalil Herbert down the depth chart, and Roschon is staying as the second option. Roschon will be the second option. He wasn't last year because of the Foreman Herbert stuff. Roschon started to show some opportunity and some flashes towards the end of the season. This is going to be the year where, with his body type alone, like, he is the guy that is going to be the one that punches it into the end zone. Like, I can just see that. I can see that happening. It's going to happen.
He's going to promise. He's going to punch it.
It's not going to be Khalil Herbert.
He's going to be punching things.
Yes.
So those are our stashes for this year in Dynasty Fantasy Football. And again, tip of the day: if you have Roschon, or if you have Khalil Herbert and anybody wants to give you anything for him, go sell him right now. So appreciate you guys watching. Get a team blueprint at flockfantasy.com/domain. You have to use code domain. You must use code domain. You've got to use code domain to unlock. And if you use code domain,
fantastical experience.
It is. Oh no! Use code domain. Choose Mother Flocker. You get a blueprint, and you get our one-on-one advice. You get our Discord rankings. You get our exclusive videos. You get all of it, everything.
Every of it.
So make sure you head over there and join us over there. Appreciate you guys. See you later.